Okay, now that we've watched the video of this gentleman and his postural shift in my practice, I want to point out a few things. I have been asked on YouTube by a commenter to kind of slow down a few things and explain what's happening. And so we're going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to walk this video all the way back to the beginning. We can get it started. Can you spot what's different? We see the pulled out posture photo in the shift, and then the zoomed in posture photo, the shift. And I'll go ahead and pause this right here, and we're going to take a look at what really truly has shifted here. So first thing I want to point out is, what is this orange or red line coming up from the bottom here? Well, that's the center of his pelvis, both in the before image on the left and center of the pelvis in the image on the right. So that red line is drawing what would be a theoretical gravity line through the middle of his pelvis. So in a perfect world in which there is a postural normal, and I truly believe that there is, for many people, not for everybody, but for many people, we can qualify a postural normal or quantify one. We're seeing the deviation of his upper body mass and his neck and his head off to the right, his right, our left. And you can see the difference in the before and the after image here. So this is a male, roughly middle-aged, very fit, very active, with not a lot of symptoms. And so this is where we get into the discussion of well, what can you do for me even if I'm not in pain necessarily, and some other important conversations about the structure of the spine and pain, because we're going to see further on he has a lateral or a view of his neck from the side that looks like he probably should be in pain, yet he does not have much at all. What we're looking at is we're looking at the shift of his skull from here, scalpellar mark, middle of the forehead, or the bridge of the nose, over to more central. And if you look at the distance from here to here, it's about 3 inches. And so the translation of his head has come back quite a bit, about a third of what it was prior. And then therefore that's going to show up in his neck. And pretty much the easiest way to really show this is to outline the edge of this neck here, and outline the edge of this neck here into the shoulder. It's really hard to see this for some people unless you're really looking at the contours of the structure. So there, now that we've got it outlined, we should be really able to see how much he's gone from being, I'm going to mirror it here, to here, with soft, gentle releases mostly in the cervical spine. So that is my commentary on kind of what's happening here. We see an elevation in the shoulder, shift of this translation of the neck. And by definition, with the shift of this head over here to this left this much, he does have reduced range of motion. And that will lead to degeneration. And so we'd like to reverse some of that process, or at least stop it. So this is his before. It's before, after. Before, after. Here's a near normal neck for reference. Not perfect, but way better than the other one. We're going to watch that again. Now we're going to draw some lines in here. Okay, first thing I want to point out here is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're just seeing down to the 6th. We're not seeing the 7th, but we can put a mark right here at the bottom of the 6th cervical vertebrae, and then put a true gravity line going up and seeing where that line crosses the C1 in the back of the skull. So in theory, with a nice soft gentle curve forward like we should have, the curvature on this neck should be coming around in here like this, and it should be ending here. In other words, at this spot right here should be translated back like this. In other words, he has a lot of forward head posture to coincide with that shift of the head over here to the left, and he has a reverse cervical curve, which we've drawn in. He has some forward translation of 3 on top of 4, and 2 lines up with 3 relatively speaking, but again, it's forward head translation, and it's carrying with it 2 and 3. And then we look at the back of the first cervical vertebrae. This is where the blood flow is going to do 2 90-degree turns up in this area. A lot of important critical nerve system tissue in here. You can see how close the back of this first cervical vertebrae is relative to the base of the skull. And let's go ahead and turn this off, and I think we should be able to move forward here. And now I'll pause it again. Drop a line again, draw it up, and we can see where this line is now crossing. It's crossing here, no longer here. We can see how the 2 has translated back over 3, and especially the 3 has come back over the 4. The lower neck has started moving forward. The head's coming back, and as this happens, then the C1 vertebrae is going to start to pick up this way. This vertebrae 2 and 3 are also going to start to pick up this way. 5 and 6 are going to start to turn down that way. That's going to create more room back here at the base of the skull for the important nervous system tissue, as well as the blood flow that travels up through this area and also travels down and out. Let's go ahead and let that play. And we'll watch that one more time. I'll say one more thing about this. This is obviously not a beautiful correction where the neck is now in this direction, right? So he still has a tendency towards reversal. He's kind of moving into a softer reverse kyphosis, whereas before he was quite a bit turned forward. Again, drawing that line in here. The important thing to point out, though, is that over several months of care, this is changing. Even though this cervical disc area is shot, even though he has a break in this line here, not a fracture in the neck in terms of break, but in terms of if you look at this angle versus this angle, that's a huge difference to make up. You have gapping in this facet here. We know he's got ligament problems as a result of this. Even though all those things are going on, with the proper release sequence and giving him an opportunity to heal, giving him some time to heal, he still is able to make the start of a great shift. And we don't know whether or not it's going to progress to improve beyond this. I'd like to think that it would, but regardless, he just looks so much better. And now he's dealing with a relatively straight neck as opposed to an embedded cervical curve. So let's go ahead and let this play out. And I'm Dr. Zachary Ward here at Life and Alignment Chiropractic in Auburn Hills, Michigan. If you have any questions about this case, it'll be posted on YouTube, and probably pieces of it will be on Facebook, if not the whole thing. And shift is possible. Shift happens. Positive movement, positive shifts in spine and body are possible with the right form of chiropractic care.